Good morning. I do the topic of the Macedonian-Serbian relations. I'll try to be as brief as possible. Historically seen, Macedonia and Serbia had similar shared their past in the Ottoman rule, but the difference is that, as opposed to Serbia, which tried first to get autonomy and then independence in 1878, Macedonia left under Ottoman rule until 1913, when waiting to be liberated, it was actually divided between its neighbors. Today's territory of Republic of Macedonia belonged to Serbia, that is the kingdom of Serbs, Croats and Slovenians. In the kingdom of Serbs, SHC, Macedonians were not recognized as separate, as unique. They were called Southern Serbs. The same with the Macedonian language, which was not recognized as separate. In 1941, the armed uprising of Macedonia against the fascist occupator started. With this revolution, Macedonia joined the anti-fascist fight with the Yugoslav peoples, which was the basis for formation of Macedonian state as a republic in the frameworks of the Yugoslav Federation. The basic difference for Macedonia now, as opposed to the kingdom of SHC now, is that the Macedonian language and people were recognized as separate and formally equal with the other republics in the Yugoslav Federation. All this left emotions, was very emotional for the Macedonian people, and with the deterioration of the Yugoslav Federation, at least we know that the Macedonian politicians at that time were one of those who tried to keep the federation as long as possible when it was deteriorating. I've seen literature from Slovenia that Macedonians simply did not have enough self-determination for their own state, and that they are pro-Serbs inclined. But I wouldn't agree with this, because we must make a difference with pro-Serb and pro-Yugoslav feelings. Yes, some Macedonians had pro-Yugoslav feelings, but it's not the same with pro-Serb feelings.
Затоа кога дојде моментот дали Македонија ќе остане во некоја мини југословенска српско доминирана федерација или ќе биде независна, сепак Македонија се одлучи да чекори по патот на независност. Тоа се случи, како што знаеме, со референдумот од 8 септември 1991 година. Има една интересна работа што би сакал да ја напоменам. Референдумот беше бойкотиран од две малцинства во Македонија. Тоа беше албанското малцинство и српското.
The Albanian minority and the Serb minority. The motives of the Serb minority, which is the 2% of the total population, can be found in some speculations that the Serb minority in Macedonia are 300 to 400,000 Serbs. These speculations had the aim to be used as a political argument in order to give special status to Serbs in Macedonia. However, the Serb minority problem was not in their number, but in the power of the then Yugoslav army, which was still in Macedonia and which was more and more becoming Serb-dominated and controlled. So there were fears that they could create a state within a state. Concerning the Serb reactions and positions in terms of the Macedonian Declaration for Independence, I would say that there were two groups in Serbia. Then Prime Minister Milan Panic, and then President Dobrica Kosic. The difference between them was that the first one approached more rationally and asked the question for the recognition of Macedonia in front of the Serb government, which was not approved by their then president, which, I quote, said, "You don't know what you're doing. They are our people, our country. We must not play with that for what the Serb army had shed blood in the past. This part of Macedonia belongs to us, and why should we now recognize an independent state?" The existence of two streams in Macedonia reflected their official foreign policy positions. So, talking on behalf of the government, the Minister of Foreign Affairs stated that it takes relations with Macedonia should be normalized, and Macedonia should be recognized, and their name is not a problem to Yugoslavia. Parallelly with that, we have the statement of the President Dobrica, who said in front of his Greek colleagues that Yugoslavia will never recognize Macedonia. Unfortunately, not for the Macedonian-Serb relations, the government of Panic was voted disconfident in 1993, so there was stagnation of the relations. For one country to be sovereign on its territory, it takes an army. So states which do not have their own army or have a foreign army cannot say that they have sovereignty on their territory. We have such examples of such states in Moldavia. Macedonia was such a country from 1991 to 1992, even though officially we declared to be independent and to have our own army. Still, the Yugoslav People's Army was still present on the territory of Macedonia. Fortunately, the Yugoslav People's Army left Macedonia without firing a single bullet, which was not unusual for that times. Why? It didn't happen because they respected Macedonia so much, the Serbs, nor because Macedonian diplomacy was very active and lobbied for this. Maybe the reason is that the Yugoslav People's Army drew back from Macedonia a few weeks before the declaration for independence of Bosnia and Herzegovina of 1992. Simply, the existing literature suggests that Milosevic couldn't afford to have part of its army, of the Yugoslav, his army in Macedonia, when a new front was open in Bosnia. Also, Macedonia economically depended on Belgrade, because our whole infrastructure was connected to Belgrade and partly not yet. So it was expected that without a Macedonian army and economically dependent, Macedonia will not be able to succeed, and Macedonia herself will want to go back to Belgrade. The drawing back of the Yugoslav People's Party was just one moment, because there were fears that something could burst out. So Macedonia couldn't just stick to the voluntary drawing back of the army, and there was a step made by Macedonia to demand UNPROFOR troops to be deployed on its north border. UNPROFOR troops were here to be protected by Macedonia or Macedonia by anybody else, but that's not true actually. They were very lightly armed. They had very limited mandate, just to observe and report, so they didn't have any obligation, they couldn't defend anybody. This was an American move which had psychological effect, first over Macedonians, because here you are protected, and then over Serbs, because here you see improper, you must not do anything bad. And thirdly, there is some international factor which helps prevent preserve peace. The troops consisted of Americans mostly, in order to show American support for Macedonia. Main questions opened after the recognition of Macedonia by Serbia in 1996, even though we must mention that Serbia didn't have any option whether to recognize Macedonia or not. At that time, there were two unsolved questions at that time. The first, the demarcation of the border, in that time administrative border, now political border between Macedonia and Serbia. Belgrade, it was characterized first as just a purely a technical question, but now it proved later to be the greatest question among in the relations of Macedonia and Serbia. By accident or not, in this negotiations about the demarcation of the border, Kosovo asked to be included in the negotiations and publicly stated that if Kosovo are not included in the negotiations, that they will not recognize the border. After the signing the agreement for demarcation of the border, by accident or not, very soon the conflict in 2001 burst out. The second open issue was the issue of the constant position of the Serb Orthodox Church towards the autocephalous status of Macedonian Orthodox Church. They always said that it is not an interstate question, it's only an inter-church question, and the churches are separated from the state. And it was an argument by Belgrade. However, with this, I cannot agree with this, because in terms of interreligious issues can transfer into interstate issues. The celebration of the monastery Prohorpčinski, the Serb church decided that the Macedonian delegation is not allowed to enter the celebration of the Macedonian state at Prohorpčinski, so all symbols for the formation of the Macedonian state were removed from that monastery. The similar case with Braniškovski, which is a church issue, but often transfers into a political issue. There are positive things about our relations too. In mutual recognition of existence of minorities in both countries. Macedonians there enjoy minority rights. In Macedonia, Serbs not only enjoy their minority rights, and they're citizens of, they're mentioned in the constitution also. They have their own party, usually part of coalition governments. A second positive thing is the recognition of Macedonia by Republic of Serbia as Republic of Macedonia, which usually shouldn't be mentioned, because it is normal to say that the Republic of Serbia will recognize Macedonia as Republic of Macedonia, because they addressed us like that in the past. But with the games that Greece imposed, we must say this, mention this as a positive thing. And last, I would like to mention that Macedonia wants to become a member of NATO, and in Macedonian government there are always Albanian partners, and Macedonia denied and with this we showed a friendly gesture towards Serbia and all our neighbors.